Hello and welcome to our podcast, Mystic Sisters, with Sarah and Kerry. And in each episode, we talk about magical and spiritual topics. And in today's episode, as we're in witch season, we're talking about witches in mythology. We've been researching goddesses that are associated with witches. And so we've got some goddesses that we'd like to talk about today. When I was thinking about witches in stories and mythology, the first thing that came to me was Morgan Le Fay, and she was in the Legends of Arthur. She was a fairy and enchantress in Avalon. She was a very powerful healer, and she was able to shapeshift. And in the original stories, she healed King Arthur of his wounds. In the retellings of the story, she was made to look more negative. She was in the retellings, she was responsible for stirring up trouble between Arthur and his king, and so over the years that the stories she became more associated with negativity. And this could be because she was a powerful woman. She was associated with magic and with healing. And in the medieval times, as these retellings came out, women who were magical, who were healers, were put in a bad light. They were called witches, but in a negative connotation. And so there are many different stories about Morgan Le Fay where she can be portrayed as positive or negative. And I think that this happened in a lot of stories in history and in mythology, that women who are associated with magic, with witchcraft and healing, the stories can be twisted into a more negative light. So we're going to talk about other goddesses as well. Me and Kelly have been talking about goddesses that are associated with witchcraft. And so Kelly wants to talk now about the goddess Diana.
Before I do, I had a vision. When you were talking about Morgan, I saw Merlin with a book, and it said it was alchemy. So he was doing magic as well, but it was more, I'm obsessed with alchemy. Sorry. But I didn't realize that till now. I had no idea. I always thought Merlin was just doing spells, but he had an alchemical book that I see him with it. He was doing alchemy back then. I never realized that.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everyone about alchemy?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about it because it's always coming up for me. It probably started coming up about 10 years ago. I was just meditating once and I kept hearing alchemy. And I've always been on this, like, alchemy just kind of draws me in. And it's basically, it's been going on for so many years with so many different people being alchemists, and it's been hidden from us. Like, as far as alchemy, people talk more about doing spells and stuff, and not as much. They don't get into alchemy as much, like working with the elements, and being able to transmute energy. So like, you can transmute negative energy into positive energy. So that's more of the alchemy that we're talking about, like transmutation, things like that, which I've been trying to learn on my own, just trying to work with my energy to try to transmute things, because I feel like I can do that. I think even shamans can transmute energy. Some people do it without even realizing it, but the funny thing is what you said is so true, Sarah. Women have been pegged for so long as witches, but what they don't realize, men have been right there for centuries with alchemy and books of magic, hidden in groups like, well, you call it Illuminati now, but Knights of Templar were good people. They knew about this. They had hidden secrets. They had hidden knowledge of alchemy, and they were men, so it's like, I don't know why women got such a reputation when men for centuries have been doing witchcraft and alchemy. Alchemy is the same thing that you would call healing. It's the same exact stuff that healers would do. And I just felt like mentioning that because it's like women are always associated with it, and we forget about men having like spiritual gifts and powers, but they just have always pegged it on women, like it's always
Yeah.
a woman associated with it when there's men that have the power of alchemy as well. But I'll get back to Diana and I'll stop with that for a minute. But I'm going to go back to it. But when I was thinking of women, when Sarah mentioned the topic, because it was her idea for the topic today, the first few that came to my mind was like alchemy, but Diana has been coming up a lot for me. The moon goddess. I always see her with like a bow, like doing archery because she's a protector, but they call her a huntress, but she's actually a protector of like animals and of women and chastity, like as far as like keeping yourself pure in a sense. And I think it's the pure sense of when we say that chastity that she has, that pureness, it's keeping yourself pure, not giving into temptations until you find the right match, like not giving into the lust and things like that. I think she's trying to keep people on their path and keeping people close to nature. And being associated, since she's associated with the moon, she's divine feminine. So any divine feminine out there, she's helping them too, like anyone on that path of that soulmate path, that twin flame path. I think Diana comes up for people trying to help them heal, trying to protect them, and trying to show them their power too. I think she comes up in Sarah, when we were talking about it earlier, we mentioned how she's kind of linked or associated with Artemis because they're similar, that they did similar things. They almost sound, they represent the same things, but one's Greek and one's Roman, and it's kind of cool how that intertwines into the same, because both Artemis and Diana have come up for me. Like they'll just pop up in my head all of a sudden. It's like I'll think of them, or I'll turn on TV and I'm watching a show I had no idea, and it talks about Diana being a protector and a healer. So I think it also Diana probably comes up for people wanting to work with the moon, the different moon phases, working with like the healing powers of the moon, how at different times when the moon is in different phases, you could do different things, like different healing types of work, releasing things on the full moon. I think that, she's associated with that as well. But then I wanted to say too, I was going to get back to the alchemy part of it because I feel that's also a part of magic. And Cleopatra came in my head today too, because she was a natural alchemist. They said that she read books and everything and studied it, but I feel like she was really a natural alchemist. And like you said, Sarah, I believe she was pegged in a bad light, like Morgan was. That they called Cleopatra a temptress and things because she knew aromatherapy. She could make and mix oils and stuff and be fragrant if she wanted to, like she knew how to work with the elements and to make like different aromatherapies and things like that people would deem as not a good thing, but it was actually just her working her natural abilities, and they pegged it into the wrong light. And I'll let you go ahead, and because I know you had a few things you wanted to say.
Well, I was thinking about Celtic goddesses. There's Cridwin, who's Welsh goddess, and she's the goddess of inspiration, and also she's associated with a cauldron. She's a cauldron goddess, and she's also a crone goddess as well. And she's associated with, she can be associated with death because Samhain or Halloween season. That's the end of the year, and it's associated with the thin veil between our worlds and the spirit world. And so death wasn't as feared in those times. We think about Halloween season now, and there's a scary association with it, but in ancient Celtic times, there was a celebration of being reunited with loved ones in the spirit world, and so Corinne Wynn was associated with that energy. She was associated with the crossing over souls and with the veil, and another goddess who was also associated with that energy.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you know that, because I just do you know Curtawin? Am I saying her name right?
Corinne.
Do you know that she's also a moon goddess too?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Isn't that creepy that we're talking about all this is going back to kind of like moon goddesses?
Yeah. Well, they are associated with the darkness, and with Cridwin associated with that end of the year passage of the Halloween season and souls crossing over. So it does make sense with the nighttime energy.
Yeah, that's
There's
cool.
Also, there's the Morrigan, who is Irish goddess, and she's got a similar energy because she's associated. She's one of the triple goddesses associated with the crone energy, and with the passing over of souls, and she's associated with the crow. So they both got very similar energy, because sometimes in a lot of mythology there are some crossovers, because there's goddesses with similar energy. These are the ones I was particularly drawn to. There's also Freya as well, the Norse goddess, because she was the goddess of war, love, beauty. She's also associated with divination, and also she was associated with cats as well, and cats are a familiar of witches. And also there's Hecate, who was the goddess of spells, herbs, witchcraft. She was associated with the underworld. Yeah, so these are the different goddesses that I was looking into recently, and Kelly wanted to talk to us about Cleopatra as well, the goddess that she was thinking about.
I can't get off Curtawin. I'm sorry. Wait, I just want to talk about her one more time. There's some kind of familiarity there. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm very drawn to her. Besides being a moon goddess, there's something else about her, like in who she was married to. You know, like he was also like a deity of some kind.
Yeah.
You know? Like not a horn god, but what would you call that? Like it's really not, I don't know why they call him that, but it would be more like a not the green man, but I don't know what I'm trying to say now.
I need to look back into I've researched in the past, but his story has slipped my mind now. I have to look back into who was associated in the story. But I think she's also associated with poetry as well. She gives inspiration. Yeah, she gives inspiration to people, and she's also goddess of poetry.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot to her.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you were talking about the crone, I keep thinking of the triple goddess, the symbol. And I keep pointing to my wrist. I guess I'm getting a tattoo there of it, but it's just that symbol just keeps coming up real prominent for me, the triple goddess tattoo, like the crone, because it has like the crones in it. What is it? The mother, crone, and
there's the maiden, the mother, and the crone.
Okay, so that's what it is. It's the three, but the symbol that they use is the moon symbols when they call it the triple goddess symbol, right? It's like the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's I can't think of the word now. I think it's the wax. There's the waxing moon as the maiden. There's the full moon as the mother, and then there's the waning moon as the crone.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's just really strong. That symbol's always been really like stuck to me because it started 10 years ago in a dream for me. I saw that. It was like a gypsy woman, and she's like this triple goddess symbol's going to protect you. And whenever I talk about it, I point to my wrist. So I guess that's where it's supposed to go. But it's a very powerful symbol, the triple goddess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's a good symbol. If you are a practicing witch, if you work, or you're a healer working with the goddess energy as well.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. At the time when it came to me in a dream, I didn't even know for sure what it meant. You know, it was so long ago. It was more than 10 years ago. I can't remember, but it was like before a lot of my healing stuff came up. Because literally right after that is like when I turned to Reiki and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that was the first time I saw that symbol, and I was like, wow, you know, and it's kind of stuck with me ever since.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Cleopatra and the alchemy part of it. She just had a natural abilities. Like she just knew intuitively. I want to say she was intuitive. She could read, you know, like as far as like she would read the alchemy books and things like that, and as well. But there was something very natural about her. You know, she had a very natural divine. When you think of divine feminine, she was definitely a divine feminine. She definitely had, she was full of divine, she was just full of divine feminine. It was like just oozing out of her. You know what I mean? And she just knew, she was so confident in herself. She was so grounded in her abilities and her strength. And I think that's why so many people would get jealous of her and think that, you know, she was putting some kind of spell on people. No, she didn't have to. That's how grounded and just divine she was. She was like, it was her being in her power and just working with alchemy, working with aromatherapies, and just she had a natural alluring ability. People thought that she was trying to lure people in, and maybe at a little bit of time she did, but she couldn't lure anybody that didn't want to be with her. It's not like she had a spell over someone. She was just very, when you think of a divine feminine, she was definitely one of them, you know,
Yeah.
definitely, you know, like she was definitely a goddess, you know, Cleopatra, like Isis was definitely a goddess. And when you think of Isis, you would think of like, she did a lot of healing, which they called witchcraft and spells, but she was definitely a divine feminine goddess.
Yeah. Because Cleopatra is said to be very beautiful and very intelligent, very wise as well. So she's very much in a divine feminine from the stories that we've heard.
Yeah. And it's sad how they pulled that away from her because she was so strong and she was so capable. I mean, look, she ended up taking over Egypt, and she really, at one point for a small time, and everyone was so jealous of that. So it's like she was so strong and so confident. And it's so sad when you read in history how the Romans came in and they just took it from her to take what was rightfully hers, or, you know, just to come in and knock her off of her throne. It's kind of sad because she was like someone to look up to because she knew naturally how to be in divine feminine energy. And it's so sad of, you know, back then when you think of witch hunts or fighting for power, they would call you a witch and you're bad and you're this and you're that, and try to strip you of what's rightfully yours, when realistically it was just a power struggle. It was someone being jealous of them, you know?
Yeah. Yes, it's really sad over the years that these stories have been twisted as well to make these women look bad and to make all powerful women look bad, like with Morgan Le Fay. Also, there's Mary Magdalene as well, because she was a healer, and
Yeah.
she
In a
was
midwife.
and she was said to be Jesus's wife, but she in the Bible she was made to look very negative.
Well, they tried to cast her, they tried to say she's a prostitute, and she wasn't. That's awful. She was not a prostitute. I know that for a fact that she wasn't. But again, it's men. seeing her being able to be around other men and stuff. Like back then they would just cast shadows on that because she was the healer, and them not understanding her ability, they didn't understand Jesus's pure abilities, so they had to cast a dark shadow over that. But that's all lies. It's like they put all these negative things about her, and none of that was true about her, you know?
Yeah, I don't think that the church wanted people to think that Jesus had a wife because at the time they were trying to, and also the fact that she was said to be one of his disciples as well, and they didn't want a woman to have any kind of power. They wanted to keep women out of the church, so there was this separation going on.
Exactly, yeah. And that they say that Mary Magdalene is his twin flame, right? That's Jesus's twin flame.
Yeah, that's what she's thought of as being his twin flame. But I feel that her energy was feared as she was a woman.
And a lot of things that they try to cover up too is how they went to Egypt. Like they tie in with ancient Egypt's power. You know what I mean? Like with the true teachings of them, you know, like of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, a lot of that, you know, they got some of it from Egypt, or Egypt took on from them, but it was like they are associated with Egypt when Jesus went off. You know, remember when he would take off, what was it they say in the desert and stuff? There's a lot of things that they tried to cover up, but that's part of it. Like he's linked, him and Mary Magdalene are linked to Egypt, just like when you think of goddesses, you think of Isis and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. I mean, there's a lot of them, but I'm just saying like some from the Bible, you know. Well, Isis isn't in the Bible, but I just kind of link her with as a goddess too, you know.
Yeah, Isis had she's a divine feminine as well.
Yeah. She was yeah, because her, what is, Osiris was her twin flame.
Yeah. What was Isis associated with?
What do you mean as far as
Um
oh, you mean like her symbol?
Yeah.
Her symbol was wait, her son Horus was the bird. She was like, they pictured her as like oh, I'm trying to think of her symbol now. It was like I could see it in my head. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
Her son was the eye. We got the evil eye from Horus, I want to say, between him and Ra. You know, like him and that god Ra, there's like the evil eye because the eye of Horus, you know.
So I'm sure she had a symbol too, but I'm not sure what it was.
I know she had a cow head at one time. There, because you know how Egyptians have like, you know, the cat head like Bastet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Animals,
there goes my cat. Did you hear that? The cat got us. There goes my cat. But they had a lot of things like animal heads, I guess. So that's like shape shifting, right?
Yeah. There are people who believe that the Egyptian gods and goddesses were from there's theories that they were from other planets, and they brought this knowledge to Earth, and that's why their appearance looked different. But there's also theories that they were shapeshifters as well.
Oh, that's kind of wild. Yeah. So then they took form as whatever they were representing, you know, like Isis would have been like Mother Mary in a way. But I see their symbols as a rose too, because Mother Mary's the rose, and then Mary Magdalene, well, because it's a sister, what is it called? The Sisterhood of the Rose.
Yeah.
There's like the whole thing about that, the Sisterhood of the Rose, which would be divine feminine, and the divine feminine energy, kind of like the twin flame and the soulmate journey. There's like a path of the rose or the divine. There's like a whole mystery school about this stuff because I keep running into it. I keep seeing like there's all these underground things now, you know.
Yeah.
Then some of it's coming more and more to light in more recent years, you know, about these divine mysteries, these divine schools, Mary Magdalene teachings, and all of it, you know, which would be healing but they would associate that, some would associate it with witchcraft, but it's really not. It's really healing.
Yeah, it just feels like humanity is coming back into alignment with the divine feminine. It feels like it is a gradual shift, but it feels like we are becoming more, because women have been oppressed for many years, but it feels like we are finding more balance between the different energies, and we are becoming more in line with the divine feminine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that looking into these stories, can help us with learning about how we can get in touch with our divine feminine.
That's true. That is true. That it really is a lot of power in that, for us to get back in touch with our true nature, with our divine feminine, because it's been suppressed, and it's been suppressed in our bloodline. You know, it's been suppressed in our DNA. Did you hear my cat? He's agreeing.
He's very talkative this episode.
He's operating through his throat chakra. He's telling us we need to heal our throat chakra. Here he goes again. Do you hear him?
Yeah.
Like this. I don't think on one episode I can't even talk. You know why? He's a man. We're forgetting about the divine masculine, because they've been suppressed too. Is that better? Divine masculine? Is it? Can I talk now? He stopped. I think he wanted that to be known too, that the divine masculines in a way have been suppressed as well, because they've been told that, you know, they need to be strong. They're supposed to be the strong role. They're not supposed to like cry and things like that, or show emotion. So I think that's what Niklaus, my cat, was trying to interpret for. This has been a really weird episode.
It's very insightful, Niklaus.
He was very mad about that. I think it's really because we kept talking about women, and we left the men out.
For so long, we've had the negative aspect of masculinity in charge on this planet, because people talk about toxic masculinity and they associate the men, the masculine, with negativity, but it's not. That's just the shadow side of masculinity. There is there's a shadow side of femininity. There's the negative points going to come back into alignment with our divine feminine, divine masculine, because there are a lot of women that deny that masculine side, but we've all got that within us. We've got a divine masculine and divine feminine, and it's not about choosing one or the other. It's about trying to bring both of them into alignment.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. Notice how we stopped yelling.
He's gone quiet now. He's been heard.
We've been heard because we finally said divine masculine. I think we needed to bring that up, and now he got all quiet. You know, he was running in the bathroom, standing on the toilet, howling, just so we'd listen. I heard him. I knew what he was doing. He was running around crying.
He really wanted to say that. So thank you, Niklaus. That was very insightful.
Who would think that a cat has that much knowledge, right?
Well, you were talking about Egypt as well, and cats are very associated with Egypt.
That too.
The Egyptian gods.
I can see why now. I really see why that cats were revered as gods, and they really have a lot of knowledge, and that's how he gets my attention sometimes. When he goes off like that and he won't stop crying, it's because he has something he wants to get through to us. Even though he does it in a funny way.
We need to ask Niklaus on next week for his insight.
Well, that's a good one.
Guest star Niklaus.
We should have an episode like that, because you know how Sabrina had her cat Salem?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that, actually, because we were talking about having maybe next week we were thinking of doing TV and film, witches in TV and film, and then I thought then we were talking about Niklaus being on this episode, he could talk about Salem.
Oh, we could see what comes through. We'll try to channel Niklaus, what he's really trying to say to us.
Yeah.
You wanna?
Yeah.
He's my own little Salem. Even though I have a black cat, he's the Niklaus though. He's the more vocal one. Niklaus is the
Yeah.
one that tries to speak more, I
He's the
think.
Salem. He's
Yeah.
the Salem for Sabrina.
He's the Salem for Sabrina. He really is. We'll have to ask him. That's
Or
great.
we should see the talking cat.
Oh my God, we should be that for Halloween.
Yeah.
We can be Salem.
We did a Niklaus special episode for Halloween.
Oh my God, yes. That would be great. You wanna?
Yeah. Yeah, please let us know in the comments if you want a Niklaus special episode, if you're a cat fan.
If you want to hear any wisdom from Niklaus.
Yeah, please submit your questions in the comments.
What do you want Niklaus to tell you?
Yeah.
And if you'd like an episode on Niklaus.
He'll answer your questions for you.
This is great.
I think he's going to love it.
I think so too. Because it'll be all about him.
Yeah.
It's
cats
time
love
to-
it when it's all about them.
Oh God, yeah. And it's about time. He feels like, I really feel like he feels like he hasn't been heard. Like there's something he was trying to get through really hard.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that. I'm sitting here amazed because all of our episodes he's quiet except for this one. And he was running back and forth. If only we had a camera watching him. He was literally running back and forth in the hall, yelling, jumping on the toilet, yelling. This is great. I think he just finished off the episode because he just has me like, I'm just in awe right now of what just happened, what we just witnessed here.
Yeah, I don't think we've both been lost for words now because we've just had Niklaus's final word in the episode.
Sarah, it's like Klaus just took us over. He just took over the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as cats like to do, they like to be the star. They're
He
very
really
unstable.
Seriously. Well, Sarah, you said you wanted a special guest. There he is.
So with that, that's the end of our show. That's the end of our episode. So thank you for our special guest, Niklaus, and thank you for listening to our podcast, The Mystic Sisters. We'll be back again next week with another episode.